So I'd like to talk about how individuals perceive and define the leisure in their lives. One way that people look at leisure is through the idea of time. So having free time to engage in leisure, away from other responsibilities, tasks, obligations. So it's that idea of free time available to participate in the things that they enjoy. Um, Another way of defining leisure is through the idea of activity. So, looking at specific activities that people engage in that gives them a sense of enjoyment and satisfaction. It might be something you do once a week, it might be something you do each and every Sunday. So, it's a specific activity that we engage in that really gives us that meaningful leisure experience. I have no problem with those two ways of looking at leisure in our lives through the idea of having free time to do things as well as targeting specific activities. I think as long as we're engaged in meaningful leisure, we're making an effort to have some sort of leisure lifestyle to help us with everyday life, to help us with our stress levels. I think that's great. Um, One way I want to talk about a little bit more today is leisure through the idea of state of mind. So leisure as a state of mind. And this idea was studied by John Newlinger back in the 1970s. He was a leisure visionary and psychologist who introduced this idea of leisure as a state of mind. This is more of a subjective way of looking at leisure, and it really considers the individual's perception of a leisure activity and how it's impacting them personally and through their emotions. This way of looking at leisure really gives an individual an opportunity to experience authentic and meaningful leisure. And I really like this concept of leisure as a state of mind because it can occur really anywhere with any sort of activity. So it's not defining leisure just by time, the free time that we have, not just by the activity itself, but really our perception of the activity and how it's impacting us in an emotional way and causing those really great feelings, things like satisfaction and fulfillment and fun and enjoyment. And so it can really occur any time of the day just when we have those experiences. So I like that idea of looking at leisure in that way. Um, what I also want to bring to your attention is last video, the stress effect, the last program we did, the first one of this three-part series, we looked at micro stress and we talked about how those are the little hassles of the day, how we may lose our keys or we're late for work, stuck in traffic, things that we experience 10 or 15 times a day that we don't always think about, but those little stressors can add up to really create quite a bit of stress in our lives. And one way to manage those micro stressors is through acknowledging micro moments of leisure in our lives. So those moments in a given day that really bring on positive emotions like a sense of connection through and fun and satisfaction and enjoyment. So anytime we're experiencing a positive emotion like that, we really need to be aware of how that's being created. Oftentimes it can be looked at as a leisure experience, and those can go a long way in combating the idea of micro stress, the micro stresses we're experiencing. So I hope that sounded okay. What we want to look at in the next video is we want to look at the eustress. So in the stress effect, the first program, we talked about eustress, which is the good stress, the positive stress in our lives. And we want to talk about the connection of leisure and eustress. Okay, so stay tuned for that.